everybody. Oh, let's do this again. Good evening, everybody.
Good evening.
I am gotta figure out where I want to start this. Let's first take a moment to say thank you to our wait staff. As we know, Voces has always been on the side of working people in this city and in this state. That's how I ran into Voces. And speaking of working people, I see the House of Labor. I see labor spread out all through this room today. I see UAW, I see the FTA, I think I saw AFT, I see, AFT right there. I can't tell. You don't have a shirt on, I can't. Oh, ATU is back here too. So I am so honored to be here, standing in front of you to give this speech. Somebody earlier said this is what democracy looks like, but this is what America looks like.
Facts.
And I'm so honored to be here in this moment for a number of reasons. I think back about why I'm here, and I'm not showing up because I got elected. I got elected because I showed up. And I think about the activism back in the day. I think it was back in the day, 8 years ago, with Mike, where I first ran into Christine, and where I ran into so many people in this room. That's where I got my start. We organized around issues of jobs and economic development, education, immigration reform, and treatment instead of prison. And I knew that we needed action on the state level, and I knew that the old governor wasn't going to get it done. And so I ran for state representative, and I'm proud that Voces was there for me. Voces stood up and said, this is the guy that we like. We want to see him get elected. And then I ran for another office. I didn't win that race, but Voces was there. And that's the important part. But when it came down time to get rid of the most disastrous administration in the state's history, you better believe Voces de la Frontera was there for us. And we didn't run away from those big issues. We talked about the need to go back to becoming a state where students got in-state tuition if they graduated from a high school in the state of Wisconsin, where it didn't matter your immigration status, you should be able to drive if you're eligible to drive. These are basic, common things that we should all come to enjoy and we should all come to expect from our government. Unfortunately, we haven't gotten it, but we are taking the fight straight to Robin Voss. We're taking the fight straight to Senate Leader Fitzgerald. But we can't do it alone. It takes everybody in this room. It takes a real organizing effort. And while the election was getting us halfway there, we know that to get the real change that we need to see in this state and in this country, we got to continue to organize. And I think also personally, because in 2019, this is the year where we are 400 years removed from the unlawful, unwilling arrival of enslaved Africans on the shores of Jamestown, Virginia. And that's why I personally take moments like these to think about what we should look like as a nation, where we should be, where we are, and how far we still have to go. And we know that the march towards justice, as long as we are mid-stride in that march towards justice, we are arm in arm. When you bring together a room like this, when you bring together people who are committed to the ideals that will truly make America great, nothing can stop us. And so and again, that goes back to why I decided to run for lieutenant governor, because I knew that we had a lot of work to do to make life better for everybody who calls Wisconsin home. There are so many people who are struggling, and I could truly benefit by saying we got a low unemployment rate here in the state of Wisconsin, but the fact is there's still too many people who are struggling to make ends meet. There's still far too many people who are working multiple jobs just to get ahead, just to pay the bills, and that's not fair. And in this state where you see income inequality that hasn't been this high since the Great Depression, in this nation you see income inequality that hasn't been this high in the last 50 years. And there are about 6 million people across this entire country who work for a Fortune 500 company who still don't earn a living wage. That's not right. It's not fair. And that's why we have to continue to organize. Because income inequality will be the downfall of this nation. And on the topic of income inequality, don't listen to the president ever. Let me just say that. But the president will lead you to believe, he and his allies, he and his cronies will lead you to believe that immigrants, especially undocumented immigrants, don't contribute to society. But we know that even undocumented immigrants pay billions of dollars in taxes per year. And I was reading a study that showed there was about $700 million of economic impact generated through tax revenue in the state of Wisconsin alone. Immigrants make Wisconsin great. And so in this role, I get a chance to travel all across Wisconsin, get to do a lot of amazing things and meet a lot of amazing people. But I always talk about the need for us to expand opportunity, to make sure that it actually truly exists in every zip code in our state. And when Governor Evers and I took the oath of office, we got right to work to do just that. And I always reminded people that my election was more than about making history, it was about making a difference. Because there's so many people across the state whose lives depend on us to get it right, because so many people have gotten it wrong for so long. And there are so many issues that plague us, so many injustices, so much inequity that plagues the state of Wisconsin. And that's why we have to get to work. And as a Milwaukee native, I'm proud of the fight that we're bringing. I'm proud that we have an administration that's not anti-Milwaukee anymore. I'm proud to be a part of the fight to bring equity back to neighborhoods like the one that I was born in. An area in the zip code with one of the highest rates of incarceration in the entire country, the poorest zip code in our entire state. And my thing about that is there are so many people in that community who are doing the right thing. So many people who want an opportunity to do the right thing, but have been dealt a bad hand because government hadn't been responsive. And it's not about people feeling like they've been left behind. People have actually been left behind because we know that so many neighborhoods suffer disproportionately from so many poor decisions that have been made. And I'm proud that the work that I'm doing in the office of Lieutenant Governor is based on equity and sustainability, making sure that everybody gets a chance to get ahead, because it doesn't matter how you were born or where you were born, you deserve opportunity in the state of Wisconsin. We know that the fight is far from over to promote schools that are equitable, public education where everybody has a chance to get ahead. I'm a proud public school graduate. And I will fight for public education until I can't anymore. And we also have to fight for our environment. As we know, and I'm proud of the work that Governor Evers has tasked me with. We just established our new climate change task force. If you didn't know, the last administration was one that didn't even want to admit that climate change was a real thing. They took the words climate change off of our state's websites. And that's why on election night, the first words that I said on that stage was, we're bringing science back. We're bringing science back for the next generation. We're bringing science back because the wrong ice is melting. And we are fighting to make sure that everybody is able to exercise their right to vote, make sure that everybody can cast a ballot, and make sure that everybody can be counted in the census. So please, please tell a friend and tell a friend and tell a friend that this census is important. And don't worry about the president and what they're trying to do, trying to malign our immigrant brothers and sisters, trying to frighten them from participating in the census. But because the president doesn't want you to count, is why you need to be counted. And we need to double down on our effort to make sure that we show up in overwhelming numbers to be counted in the census. Because you think about, after 2016, a very frustrating year for all of us. We got the president we got. But 2 years later, we had a historic midterm election where we elected the most women to Congress in our nation's history. We elected the most diverse Congress. The first 2 Muslim women were elected to Congress. The first 2 Native American women were elected to Congress in 2018. The Congressional Hispanic Caucus is stronger than ever right now, with the most popular member of Congress in Benjamin Ocasio-Cortez. And then we beat Scott Walker. And so now it's up to us. And when I say us, I truly mean us, all of us, to fight to ensure that every person counts, because our communities matter. The communities that have been forgotten, the communities that have been left behind. And we're fighting to make sure that everybody has access to all the resources that Wisconsin has to offer. And again, that goes back to the driver's license issue. It goes back to the issue of affordable education for our undocumented children, and for dignity and for justice, because everybody deserves dignity and justice. And again, we are going to lead by example here in the state of Wisconsin. We're not going to let Donald Trump dictate what we do. We're gonna show the world what it looks like. We did it last year. We're gonna do it again in 2020 because Donald Trump is not gonna be the president much longer. And so I can't even go back to my own upbringing. I'm so proud that I got my dad here in the audience. My dad's a proud Voces member. And I always get attacked, and they say, "Oh, Mandela, he's too far. He's too far to the left." I'm like, "You met my dad? That man is out there." But it's the work that my parents did, my father and my mother. I got to give her a lot of credit too. She spent about 28 years in Milwaukee Public Schools as a physical education teacher. It's because of their work, it's because of their involvement, their activism that I stand here today. And that's why I'm proud to be a part of an administration that understands that people, again, deserve that quality of life, but also people shouldn't live in fear. It is our goal to create safe, inclusive communities where everybody matters. It's about safety, it's about doing the right thing. It's about building not just coalition, but building community, because community lasts longer than coalition. And we also know that our state, when it recognizes the rights of everyone, despite some of our nation's leaders doing the opposite, whether it be, unfortunately, locking children in cages or ripping families apart at the border, or basing their entire governing strategy on hate and bigotry, the actions that we see across this nation are disgraceful. And that's why voting is important. That's why participating in the census is important. And that's why standing up and fighting back and organizing is important. Like I said, the road is long. And some of us are gonna get tired, some of us are gonna get stressed out. Lord knows I am now. But we can't give up. We can't give up. No longer can we sit and let children and families be separated at the border. I hope I say this right when I say ya basta. I said it right? All right. Enough is enough, and enough of Donald Trump. And we face, again, this opposition that is using the worst aspects. Again, hate and bigotry, bringing out the worst in Americans, turning neighbors against neighbors and friends against friends. And we look at an opposition that thinks that racially symbolic border wall that will be ineffective, that will be obsolete, is the way forward. But we know that's not the way forward. We need to build bridges, not walls. And despite the ignorance of the leadership in our highest office, we know that we the people, when we come together, can show this nation the beauty that we truly can achieve. And I believe in the power of inclusion, the power of strength, the power of unity. But we have to remember that unity is a journey, not a destination. A journey to recognize that all of us have way more in common than we have different. A journey to come together and see that each of us have equitable opportunities and a path for success for this generation and for the next. And during this journey, we have to fight with vigor to address all the inequities that divide us, to see that our environment is a priority, to make sure that all of us are counted and included in the decisions that are made, or in the decisions that are made to shape our lives. And we have to build a bigger table to make sure that voices are truly represented. And no longer can we try to solve problems without bringing the most impacted voices to the table. And I say this all the time because it's a prime example of rooms that I get in where we talk about solving poverty and there's nobody in poverty in the room. That's a problem. We can't talk about implementing real immigration reform if there's not a member of the immigrant community a part of that conversation. We can't talk about education if there aren't students and teachers a part of that conversation. We have to lead with a vision, but we also have to lead with love to make sure that all of us have a chance to get ahead, to make sure that affordable health care is a reality here in Wisconsin, to make sure that, again, the pathways to education for every child, regardless of your zip code, regardless of your income, you have a chance to get ahead, to stop this crisis at our border and give our asylum seekers a path to citizenship. And we have to continue this fight for equity because it matters to everybody, whether you're an immigrant or not. It matters. Your life matters to me. So if there's one thing I can challenge everybody to do is that I want you to continue to make your voices heard. I want you to continue to stand up, continue to speak out against injustice wherever it may exist, and know that I will be with you every step of the way. So get involved, but don't just get involved. Bring somebody else along. Bring somebody who hasn't been a part of the struggle. Bring along a stranger. Make a new friend. Make a new neighbor, because that's what this is all about. Get your families, your friends, your community involved, and do so by joining the great organization that brought us all together tonight, Voces de la Frontera. It is really warm in here. So, and I would have to stop speaking for that alone. But let me tell you, the future is ours. The future goes to those who go out there and grab it. And if you also think about what I talked about in the midterm election, look at this presidential campaign. Look at the people who we see on stage debating. There's more representation on the stage than ever before. There's literally somebody for everybody. And you know, when it comes time, when that candidate is chosen, whoever that candidate may be, I implore you, I implore everybody to please, you know, get behind that candidate. If there are times you have to challenge whoever that candidate is, we got to challenge them. That's fair. That's democracy. That's how it works. But we need to stand united against hatred, against bigotry, against fear-mongering, against white supremacy. We have to stand strong in everything that tries to divide this nation because we are so much stronger together. And I'm so proud that we are finally getting Wisconsin back on track, back to a place, back to our progressive roots. The progressive roots that got us the story of Joshua Glover and Ezekiel Gillespie. You know, abolitionists and people who sought the right to vote that were denied the right to vote but took their fight to the Supreme Court, as Ezekiel Gillespie did, took his fight to the Supreme Court, won, because at that time, he was a black man trying to vote, and of course they told him no. But he didn't give up, just like we can't give up. If a man can get denied the right to vote and say, well, I think I'm gonna take this fight to the Supreme Court, which could have cost him his life, I think that we all can stay in this fight. I think that's enough to inspire us all to keep going. And people like Joshua Glover, who was a runaway slave from Missouri, and his former slave owner tried to get him back with the Fugitive Slave Act, and that didn't work because a group of abolitionists led by Sherman Booth stormed the jailhouse and broke him out of jail and sent him to Canada on an underground railroad. If that can happen here in Wisconsin, we can change the way this entire nation looks. We can once again, or for once, become the nation that we claim to be. Thank you all so much for having me. Let's go forward in faith and love and justice and for right and tomorrow. Thank you so much, folks. Thank you for having me. Si se puede.